Branding for Entertainers, episode number 3.
And it also inspired me to get out of the mindset of what everybody else was doing, where they were just doing another trick.
Yeah.
It made me think business. Money's great, success is great, but what is success? That's another thing I think we should all ask ourselves. What is success? It's different for everybody. Sometimes it's money, but other times for me it's about relationships, it's about people, it's about things I care about. I'm living it right now.
You're listening to the Branding for Entertainers podcast, where we talk about your visual, verbal, and virtual brand and why it matters.
This podcast helps entertainers grow and become someone that your clients and audience remember long after your gig is over.
And now, here's your host,
Billy Diamond.
Well, greetings and happy Friday, my friends. Boy, it's been a crazy week here. Man, I don't even know where to start. I got a late start getting this podcast together. My apologies. It's a little bit later, but it is, guess what? It's our third Friday, our third episode. I sincerely appreciate you sticking with me to hear the interview between myself and Kris Sheppard of the successful Performercast. And if you listened last week, podcast number 2, I dove in a little bit into dealing with bipolar and depression, and I'm going to tell you right now that this particular episode that you're about to hear there's some dark times in here, okay? You're going to get a good feel for that from me. And I want you to understand this, friends, that teaser last week, but you got to stay tuned because you're going to hear a little bit more about that. So we're going to talk about failure. I think it's okay to talk about failure, don't you? Yeah, I really do. Because here's the cool part. We don't have to live there. And you're probably saying, well, Billy, listen, this is the third episode I'm listening to your story here, and it's gloom and doom. But not really. There's a foundational element here that I want you to understand, and that is this, that if I don't set this part up, you're not going to get to your next step. And what I mean by that is I think too many guys run around, girls too, I should say, let's point that out. Too many people run around trying to develop their onstage persona or their onstage character. Well, the reason that I'm going so deep into this whole thing with you and sharing just me and my failures and my story and about depression and having bipolar disorder is because not only do I feel like a lot of artsy and entertainers or entertainment type people deal with this, but I also know that you have to find you. And until you find out who you are as an individual, as a person, you, my friend, you certainly can't live it out on stage. So that's why we're going about it this way. But I promise you, next week it's about to get exciting. We're going to tune in because we're going to get into some meat, okay? And after that, I'm going to start having guests on, as I've said before. And I am rambling at this point, but please stay tuned because I want you to hear this particular episode with Kris Sheppard of the successful Performercast. And you're not going to want to miss it because I promise you, if you just listen with an open heart, you might even be able to identify. Maybe you suffer from depression. Maybe you even have something similar to me. Maybe you have anxiety or bipolar disorder and you think, I'm so alone here. I want you to know you're not. Okay, this isn't about based off of a perception of what can I tell these people to lure them in and to get them to understand branding or to get them to buy into a system that I might offer. No, it's not. It's about the real me. It's about the real you. And when we can find that, man, great things can happen. So once again, here's my episode and the last episode, I should say, of this interview with Kris Sheppard. Let's go.
Now, Billy, I've talked to a number of people who listen to my show, and there's the large number of people who I don't know personally, I've never talked to, and maybe there's one listener who might be in a similar situation that you were at that point. Maybe he's going through nervous breakdowns, and maybe he's at the brisk of doing something rash. What would you say to that person right now?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've learned, and here again, everybody's different, but the biggest thing that I've learned in my whole process is this: that you know what, the only thing that's permanent in life is death. It's realizing that you are in a temporary situation, and it might not seem like it at the time. Believe me, and this is coming from a guy that when I had my breakdown, I sat against the wall and cried for a day, and just total emotional, mental breakdown.
Yeah.
So in hindsight, it's easier to say, listen, you can come through to the other side, even if that means you take it minute by minute, hour by hour, day by day, month by month. And you know what? Those same exact things that I'm saying on a personal level can apply to the business aspect of things. To say, you know, man, I don't see myself being a better performer, or I'm never going to get to the castle. I really want to do Monday Night Magic, or whatever that might look like. Start thinking and perceiving it differently. Another tool for me in my own success was going and being around people that could not, I'm not trying to say brown nose or rub elbows with, but being around successful people, boy, there's just something to be said about that. It's the same even from a mental standpoint. There are many times, even now as I suffer from bipolar, there's many days where I don't want to get out of bed. There's many times I don't want to do work. It's about the push. It's the same thing. You got to apply that to business and say it's about the push. You have to push yourself. Nobody's going to do it for me. I have to do it myself, or at least get off my butt and do it myself to work towards that. So that's what I would say. All the other stuff is temporary. Here again, find your passion. Find out what it is that you love to do and tackle it.
Yeah. Okay. Now, you don't have to say this, but would you mind telling us how that almost landed you in jail?
Yes, I had a huge contract with a client, and I just was not able to get his products to him in the time frame that I had even agreed upon. And here again, it was about, I lived crisis to crisis. It was, check to check, just like many people, or not many people, but some people have it like that, and it's okay, they got it. But I found myself, I was living check to check, so it was a thing of providing 100% service, being on the road, to all of a sudden having overhead and having product.
Yeah.
Not really having that balance to say, it was almost an afterthought of, oh my God, now I'm in too deep. And that's really what happened even with this client. It was a struggle. I was finally exonerated of all the charges. Here again, I'm not real proud of that whole thing. But
sure, yeah.
It even left some people in a bad situation because I had to file bankruptcy. But I don't mind sharing those things. And like I say, I'm not proud of them by any means. But I really strive hard today to not just live a life of integrity, but keep my business on an integrity level. And I think part of that process too is most of my clients, I consider them my friends. I'm talking to you or talking to anybody else. That to me is about what it's about, establishing those long-term friendships and those relationships.
Wow, yeah.
I certainly can't change the past.
Sure, but you can change your future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I really, really strive to do that. I almost sound like I'm trying to justify this, but I'm just really passionate about that. I think that's something that there's a lot of times I just self-evaluate and I think, what do I need to do better? How do I need to do this better? And I think that's a good place in life to be too. Not just from a business aspect, but a personalized aspect too. I mean, over the past several years, I've been able to conquer a lot of things. Up until 3 years ago, I was a severe alcoholic. I don't even know how I functioned. I'd go out and do shows, or I'd be on the road.
Wow.
I don't even know how I did it.
Yeah. Is that where you can't leave your home?
No, I did.
Sorry.
Actually.
What did you say it was? Agoraphobic?
Oh no, I was an alcoholic.
Oh, okay. Sorry. My apologies.
I'm like, wait a second. Although there's still many days with the bipolar I don't want to leave my home.
Yeah.
That's a whole different thing.
Okay.
But I guess what I'm really trying to say is not look at me, look what I've gotten through. It's about we all struggle with certain things, and we struggle with them on a personal level, we struggle with them on a business level, and it's all possible to get through. Every single bit of it. It's about having a map. It's about having a plan. That is so key.
Right. And there's just an amazing theme here right now of perseverance and kind of a theme of redemption too, you know?
The perseverance, that's been one of those things that sometimes you get to a point in life where it's so bad that you're like, well, whatever happens next, it's really, I got this. So it's, it is tough, and it is a thing of hopefully redemption. There's things that I regret.
Right.
But we can't change the past, but we can certainly press into learning those lessons and making that change along the way.
Yeah, yeah.
I know on a personal level for me, if I could just expand on this just real quick, and I don't want to get off topic, but I think one of the biggest things that I have also learned through that business failure was balance, having balance. And I even see so many guys around me from this side of the business, from the product side, and as I talk to people, they're so busy. They're working. They're doing what they love, and they're making tons of money, but they have no time to enjoy it.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I'd like to say that I've learned, and it's a constant thing, you know, here again about self-evaluation, of having that balance. So through my failure, I couldn't save my marriage, but one of the things I have is I have 2 wonderful kids, and I do my best to make the most time that I can for them. Unfortunately, I'm going to be on tour over the holidays, but by the time they won't know that until the podcast, but I've already come back, and I had been gone from the holidays for Christmas and New Year's, and those are tough, but it's kind of cool because my kids, they understand, they know that they're at an age they get it, but I guess what I'm saying is, you know, having balance for what matters most, and to me it's about relationships. Money's great, success is great, but what is success? That's another thing I think we should all ask ourselves. What is success? It's different for everybody. Sometimes it's money, but other times for me it's about relationships, it's about people, it's about things I care about. I'm living it right now.
Yeah, wow. And that's another thing that I was hoping to talk about, is that balance. So I'm really glad we circled around to that. And Billy, thank you for just being so open about that. And I really think that that's going to touch some lives.
I hope so. I mean, that's my whole goal. I hear people say, as many people as I've been in front of over the years, they've always said, you know, well, thanks so much for your story. But really, you know, here again, everybody has a story.
Yep.
They really do, people. And it's not so much, don't pat me on the back, it's about, you know what, if my story of where I was can help one single person, and I sincerely mean that, you know what, then man, to me I'm getting a little teary-eyed just thinking about that, because no, seriously, I mean, I still do, and I've spoke to thousands and thousands of people that have dealt with mental illness and suicidality, alcoholism, drugs. And it touches me every single time, because it's like, you know what? Here again, at the end of the day, we're all human. Yeah. Yep. So I hope I can. I hope, and that's why I share so openly, because I think it's so important that I can show people that we, and every day is still a struggle for me. Every day. so you persevere and you push through, and you find great people that can help you through that process as well.
Yep.
Well, I certainly hope that you're enjoying the interview so far with Kris Sheppard and myself from his podcast, The Successful Performercast, and I'm sure you understand that in an interview type situation like this, I can't really tell you everything. So just to reassure you that week after week, as we get into this more, we're going to be hitting on really specific topics to help you. But in the meantime, as Kris gets ready to relaunch his Successful Performercast, I really hope you'll stay tuned. I want to thank him once again for all his time, all his hard work. And boy, let me tell you, I understand firsthand right now how hard it is to put a podcast together. It's a lot of time. And Kris he's just a great guy that offers his heart, his soul, and a lot of time. And he has a lot of guests on his show. And by the way, we'll be having guests on here too. So, these people are really great, and you're going to get some really great content. So please be sure to visit Kris's site, Successful, not but just Successful, Performercast.com. And as well as his Facebook page, Successful Performercast. And let's get back to that interview now.
Now, Billy, let's flip over this coin. Tell me about your favorite success.
Favorite success. Let me think here. I would say some people find success as wealth, but to me it's about living, learning, growing, and doing that through the adversity. I guess my favorite success is what I'm living right now, or what I feel I'm living right now. I would say more than it's more personal than on a business level, and that's, my favorite success is probably, again, what I'm doing right now, and that is how to become a better father to my kids as they grow up. I have to sacrifice more, and I have to balance between work and family. To me, that's success. That's, it's personal success. It's not business success, but it's personal success.
Hey, that counts.
And I think it does count.
Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Awesome. All right, so Billy, we are here at the end of the show, and this is kind of a lightning round of sorts, and it's just where I have you make a few recommendations. And the first one is, I'd like you to recommend one resource that you always use to our listeners, and this could be anything from an iPhone app to something like a prop list for your show.
Sure. Pretty easy. I might not even be the only one that's ever mentioned this, but it's a little thing called Google.
What is that?
Every single day, and boy, they've totally sucked me in. I'm just about every available tool that Google has, I use. Except tonight. I think we're Skyping tonight. We're not using Hangouts.
Yeah, I think Skype is owned by Microsoft. Don't quote me on that, but I think it is.
But I use Google all the time, and I use it across multiple platforms, and dare I say I use it with my syncing capabilities on my Android phone. I'm one of those.
There you go. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, just a great tool because I can do all that and work between business and personal at the same time. And I mean, when I say I use it on a multi-level, I think I have about 8 Google Voice phone numbers, which is great in one sense and horrible in another. It's great in the sense that Google Voice can keep all the telemarketers away, and then I can push them so they never call me again. I can actually ban them from calling again. All free resource, which is great.
That. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, and I can also have people that I might not necessarily want to give my phone number to. I can give them a Google Voice number, and I can tie it in with my phone. It goes right to my phone. I can text. They can text me. I'm a real big, across the different platforms. The Google Voice for me is a really strong, great tool that I like, because it also sends me the email. There should be no miscommunication because it is integrated so well to my phone or wherever I'm at any given time. It's up to me whether or not I just get back to them. So a great resource.
Awesome. The next thing I'd like you to do is to recommend 2 books, one of them performance specific, and then the other one outside the performance realm, like a business or a self-development book. Okay.
Yeah, this is the question on your list that totally haunted me.
Oh no, because there's so many, right?
Yeah, well, there are so many, but here again, let's just keep it real. I mean, I'm no Warren Buffett. I don't read all the time.
Sure,
but I have lots of books. Does that count? No, I would say. I really had to think about this, honestly, because we all have strengths and weaknesses, and reading is actually a weakness for me. I'll openly admit that. But
audiobooks, my friend.
Yes, what I do. Absolutely, and that might be a good step. But one of the performance books that I would recommend, and I have actually read, is a book by my dear friend Adele Reindress, which is The Elusive Moth: Disappearing Nightly with Harry Blackstone and his Show of 1001 Wonders. And if you never heard of it, Adele was about 18 years old when she worked for Harry Blackstone Sr. And she was a dancer, and it was trial by fire. She just went out there and boom, you're on. And it just she talks about the memories of her life and those times with Harry Blackstone Sr. and then kind of growing up alongside of Harry Blackstone Jr. and just all the different venues they were in. Just a really neat story about those times of a really big working illusion show and what it takes to do that. So even if I know it's like a personal biography, but it's just a really good read for anybody who even today that desires or has no clue about what it takes to do an illusion show. Yeah. There's a lot of things in there that was a big show, and there's a lot of big illusion shows today. In fact, by the time this podcast airs, I will have done one.
Yep.
And there's just many hours, 16, 18-hour days sometimes that go into this to making it work. So, but anyway, I digress. But Adele's just a sweetheart. I know her personally, and just a really neat read. And she's so sweet. She had said when somebody found her and asked about her writing about her story with Harry Blackstone, she's like, well, nobody wants to hear my story. And of course now she goes to all these different conventions and and also talks about her times with Harry Blackstone Sr. So yeah, from a performance aspect, that was one that I really enjoyed, just because she's such a sweetheart, and I really know her personally. Been to her house, and just a neat, very neat lady in her 80s who just loves to share about her story. Here again, everybody has a story. So
yeah, yep.
And then from a business standpoint, and this is going back years. I haven't read it for many years, I'm ashamed to say, but one that, when I say I haven't read it in many years, I think it was an actually audio cassette, but it is also a book. I think I was about 14 the first time I heard it, and even back then I was trying to think like an entrepreneur. I was trying to think positive, and that is Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yes.
It explains the the power of positive and the principles of positive thinking.
Yeah.
So just really good content that if somebody has not listened to or read that, I think if it's from like 1930 something or other, it's very old, but a lot of those principles still apply today. And I think that's a lot of it too, towards that success, is just what that explains, how to think it and how to grow it. It's not just a matter of thinking it, but applying those principles to it and how to get to that next step.
Yeah, it's a classic for a reason.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Yep. I've got one quick question. As I was going over your website, and I think it was on the your About page, there was a picture of you holding the very first marketing book that you got.
Yeah.
What book was that?
I was 12 years old. I walked into a magic shop, a local magic shop, and like many magicians, I was like, well, I'm here this week for my fix. I need a new trick. Mm-hmm. And the old gentleman, God rest his soul, Joe, said to me, he said, basically what I've said today, and that's anybody can do a trick, but what about the business side of it? Mm-hmm. And it was back then that he suggested this book, and this book was like 2 inches thick, and it was David Ginn's Promoting Me and You Too.
Oh, wow.
And it was just such a wealth of information. It was like all these different magicians, from Andre Cole, Felix Snipes, Sammy Smith, all their content and all their marketing. And he packaged this whole thing up into a really nice bow, and brought all this content together about how to take your magic business and market it well, and resources that could help you, whether those were contracts or postcards. And man, I clung to that at 12 years old. But I mean, for a 12-year-old, that was a big investment. I think I spent $100 on it.
Oh, wow.
At 12 years old. So it was like, wow, I don't know, man. I could buy a couple of tricks, or I could buy this.
Yeah.
And I've talked to David over the years, and it's like, he kind of laughs about it. It's like, but man, you don't understand, David. That book made such a huge impact in my life. It was like my personal Bible, because it was my go-to, and it also inspired me to get out of the mindset of what everybody else was doing, where they were just doing another trick.
Yeah,
it made me think business. Sure, yeah. It wasn't necessarily business, but yet it was business. It was marketing. It was how to market my business and my magic business and take it to the next step. So
wow.
I attribute a lot of that to
it set a trajectory for your life.
Absolutely, it was a roadmap. It really was a roadmap. I mean, that book didn't necessarily tell me exactly get from here to get to here, but it did set me on that course, and it created that love of marketing. And you had mentioned that I was in printing. It led to that. Along the way, I had the naysayers that said, no, you'll never be a magician. You can't do it. Get a real job.
Yeah.
But back early on, when I was still in high school, I did go to a vocational school for printing. Fell in love with printing, and so all that kind of goes hand in hand. So that's the reason where I'm at now. How all this has come full circle, and how I have a product line that wraps around marketing and branding. Kind of been there, done that, I guess.
Yep.
If you will.
Yeah. Wow. Billy, I'd like you to just do one more thing for us, and that would be to give a quick piece of parting advice to our listeners, and then tell us where we can find you online and all that good stuff.
Yep. My parting advice would be this, and it's what I started the podcast out with, and that is, the world already has someone else. Just keep on being you.
Love it.
Refine that.
Yeah.
Refine that whole process. Figure that out. Refine it. Follow your passion. I promise you, the rest will become history.
Mm-hmm. All right. And where can we find you online?
It is, my name is BillyDiamond.com. Yep, that's it.
Cool. All right. Billy Diamond, you've shared all kinds of great information that our listeners can use to help grow their performance businesses. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your experience.
You got it. Thank you so much for having me, and it really was an honor, so thank you.
Hey, it was certainly a pleasure. Thank you again.
Well, there you have it. That is my interview, and basically just a small version of my story. There's so much more complexity to it, but I think that would bore you to death. But anyhow, that is my story in a nutshell. And as you can see, it's easier to rebrand yourself than you might think. And maybe you're in my circumstance and you still feel like a failure. You feel like you're not getting ahead. You feel like you have this dream of fulfilling your career as an entertainer, whether that's a magician or a ventriloquist, comedian, whatever it is, a singer even. And you just feel like you can't get to your next step, or you feel like you've just had so many failures that you just want to throw in the towel. I want you to stick around because I want to help you succeed. I'm hoping that you're enjoying these podcasts so far. At this point, it's been all about me, but let's get to where we need to go next. And next week, I will be talking on the topic of what I call the 3 V's of branding. And in that discussion, we'll be talking about your visual, your verbal, and your virtual brand. And obviously why that matters so much, and how to present yourself, how to reinvent yourself. Listen, if I can go from sitting along the side of a wall, crying my eyes out, and just shaking back and forth, I'm serious. Think about this. Somebody that you'd see in a mental institution who has lost their minds. If I can get through that situation in life, not once, but a couple times, if I can get through 4 failed suicide attempts, I'm here to tell you that you can also be personally successful. And before you get to your career, you need to be personally successful. I'm going to tell you right now that I'm living it. I'm doing what I love to do every single day. And you can too. Thanks so much for listening. And I will talk to you next week. Don't forget, live your passion. Have a great week. Bye-bye.